Okay, so welcome, my dear students and learners. So, today, very briefly, I am going to discuss the radiological, mainly the X ray findings of cervical spondylosis. Okay, it's a common problem. You know, sometimes the aged people they used to experience uh, shoulder and the neck pain, uh, the vertigo, the cervical vertigo, and very easily it can be ruled out. 95% this is all these things it will be due to this cervical spondylosis. So I'm just going to discuss very shortly that simple by X-ray how it is to be identified. So the cervical spondylosis is a general term for age-related wear and tear affecting the spinal disc in neck. Okay, as the disc dehydrates and shrink over time, it's a signs of osteoarthritis. uh, Due to age it will develop, and this will also cause the bony projections along the edges of the bones. It's a osteophytes we will see in the subsequent slides. This can put pressure on the spinal cord, nerves, or arteries, which can lead to cervical vertigo, neck pain, and disbalance. Sometimes it is during walking. So, this is the first we will understand the normal spine shape. So, this is this is our spinal cord, and mainly we are discussing the cervical portion. Okay, so this is the in the cervical spine. So this is the normal curvature, which is called the cervical lordosis. Okay, so normally the cervical lordotic curve it will be in C shape. This is the normal, and this is the dorsal area. It will be like this. Lumbar segment it will be like this, and the sacral curvature it will be like this. So once this there is a lack of cervical curvature, or there is a lack of cervical lordosis, this is one prompt indication of cervical spondylosis. Okay, now we will see the spine anatomy. So you can see here this is the vertebral body, and this is the intervertebral disc. Okay, and these are the facet joints. If you see in a normal vertebra, you can see how the discs are placed. They are equally spaced, and the uh, end vertebral plates are very regular in fashion. So this is the normal spine anatomy. If this normal spine anatomy it is deviated, then also it can cause the cervical spondylosis. Okay, now the third prominent thing is called osteophytes. It's also known as the bone spur. It's a bony growth that forms on the edges of the bone in the spine or around the joint. Now you can see this is a normal spine, as I told you. See the disc are, these are the very smooth, the disc, you see the discs are equal in size, they are nicely spaced. This is the normal spine. And you can see the end plates are very regular. Now if you see a arthritic spine, you can see the edges, there is a growth in the edges, you can see. So this is called osteophytes. And you can see here the disc, the vertebral disc, end disc, the end plates, those are irregular. Okay. So, and you see here, this is a growth at the end of this particular vertebra. So these are called osteophytes. So from the X-ray we will try to find out. So we can these 3 points we will summarize very grossly. We'll take the X-ray and we will see whether the normal cervical curvature of the vertebra, that which is called the cervical lordosis, whether it is maintained or not. Second thing, if the disc gap, whether it is maintained properly or not, whether there is some osteophytes or not. These 3 things, with these 3 indications we can conclude that this is a case of cervical spondylosis. Okay. Now we will go for, and some other things also. It is for some time it is responsible, it is when the disc is bulged, the bone density, the bone become porous, the facet joint wear and tear, all these things are also there, but that cannot be seen in properly in X-ray. You need to do the MRI. Now you see this X-ray images, it's showing the initial stage of cervical spondylosis. Now you can see the first point, this cervical lordosis, there is a lack of cervical lordosis. The lower portion, it is become more or less straight. Okay, it should be like this, but the lower portion, it is become completely straight. So there is a lack of cervical lordosis. Now I can see this area, this area. So there is a irregularity in the vertebral end plates, and the disc gap, these are the disc gap, this also started to become irregular. And I can see this is a osteophyte, here is a osteophyte, and this minimal changes in the facet joints. So this X-ray indicating is the initial stage of cervical spondylosis. Now the second example, you can see here the entire cervical vertebra shape, it is totally, it has become a complete straight line, you can see, correct, it's become a straight line. So this is a obliterate cervical lordosis, completely it has become straight line. And you see there is a ununiform disc gap, this gap, this gap, this gap, this, these are not uniform. So non-uniform disc gap, and I can see, and you can see here, so this is 1 2 3 4 5, so this 5 and 6, in between C5 and C6, the disc gap become very narrow, and there is osteophytes also. So this is a case of fully developed cervical spondylosis. Okay. Now coming to the third example. So now you can see there is no this the shape is entirely something else. It is some there is a huge deviation of cervical uh, spine curve. There is a change, huge change. It's also become straight line, and all the disc gap become very narrow. Okay, so you can tell that there is a multiple disc prolapse, and also everywhere osteophytes, everywhere you can see all the places. Okay, so this is a advanced cervical spondylosis. So hope with this explanation, now by your own you can, if you see the x-ray, easily you can conclude whether this is a case of cervical spondylosis or not. So this was all about today's discussion. Hope it will be useful to you. Thank you so much. Thanks for your patience.